Good morning. Great to be together for a few minutes here at the end of the week. And Memorial Day weekend is a special weekend, and of course, a time for us to remember a memorial. We honor our living veterans, but it's a time to remember those who gave their lives. And Monday we do have a Memorial Day service at our church at 10 o'clock. If you're in the area, you could get this far. We'd love to have you join us. And we just spend an hour, a little more together, just honoring and respecting and telling some stories. This year, I'm taking time to tell some stories of the people behind the veteran, the wives who've been left behind, and the children left behind, and those, how many birthdays got missed, and thanks even to the living veterans, but also to those who gave their lives. And early on, a young lady's a widow, and children without a dad. Those are things we ought to consider as citizens and understand that we owe a great debt. I believe it's God who gave us our freedom and gave us our country, but God used people. And without people who are willing to pay a price, it wouldn't have happened. And so I hope you have a good weekend. Hope you, if you're nearby, you join us for the Memorial Day service, 10 o'clock to about 11:15, whatever. And then we get together here at church, just have a big picnic outdoor. We play volleyball and softball and contests for the kids, watermelon eating, or carrying the egg in the spoon, or a balloon toss, just fun things for the kids. We have barbecues going, and just hang out for a few hours. People stay as long as they want. Every year is different, depending on the weather. This year, the weather's been amazingly cool. Some years it's hot, and I don't know what it's going to be like Monday, but we've had a cool May, and that's a good thing. But today I want to mention just a word or two about a song and people. And there are people who, in our culture, if you step over a line, people would just crucify you, treat you as if you're a piece of dirt. And I think, we've all sinned, and we've all come short of the glory of God. And I may have lost my marriage, or I may have had a problem with liquor at one time, or whatever. But that doesn't mean my life doesn't count. It doesn't mean I can't make a good Christian. And we're too quick to throw people, as the political people say, throw them under the bus. But I'm just going to read a quick story about, and this is this Osbeck's, Kenneth Osbeck 101 Hymn Stories. And this happens to be the hymn, "Oh, for a thousand tongues to sing my great Redeemer's praise, the glories of my God and King, the triumphs of his grace." These are rich lyrics. "My gracious Master and my God, assist me to proclaim, to spread through all the earth abroad the honors of thy name. Jesus, the name that charms our fears, that bids our sorrows cease. 'Tis music in the sinner's ears, 'tis life and health and peace." This is great theology. It's great encouragement, devotional Bible truths. And there's 6 verses here. I don't know, sometimes there's more verses than you see. He breaks the power of canceled sin. He sets the prisoner free. His blood can make the foulest clean. Of his blood availed for me. What a great song. Well, let me give you a word or two behind it. That Charles Wesley, the author of this hymn, John and Charles Wesley, brothers, while at Oxford University, formed the Religious Holy Club because of their dissatisfaction with the spiritual lethargy at the school. As a result of their methodical habits of living and studying, they were jokingly called Methodists. That's where the term Methodist came from, because they had a systematic plan of what they did and how they did it. They had a method. And isn't it interesting? Because a lot of the names that were thrown at Christians were names of insult or names of slander. But in this case, it was a compliment of their character. So their fellow students, upon graduation, these young brothers were sent to America by the Anglican Church to help subsidize the religious climate of the Georgia colonies and to evangelize the Indians. So Charles Wesley and his brother John were both sent to America on board ship. As they crossed the Atlantic, the Wesley brothers came in contact with a group of German Moravians. And the Moravians were much closer to Baptists than most other groups. And so and they were very evangelistic, very mission-minded. A small evangelical group, long characterized by missionary concern and enthusiastic hymn singing, the spiritual depth of these believers soon become evident during the raging storms that followed, the storms that they faced. The following account is taken from Wesley's journal, January 25th, 1736. In the midst of the psalm wherewith their service began, the sea broke over, split the mainsail in pieces, covered the ship, and poured in between the decks. So the waves just were tearing the ship apart. A terrible screaming began among the English. That would have been the Wesleys. The Moravians looked up and without intermission calmly sang on. I asked one of them afterwards, "Were you not afraid?" He answered, "Thank God, no." And John Wesley was so impressed with these people that he eventually made a study of the hymnal used in their home church in Herrnhut, Germany. As soon, he introduced a number of English translations of these Moravian hymns to the Anglican services, and on and on. Just a great story of people growing in grace, people experiencing things, and there's some great Christians out there, and they're unsung heroes, but to face a trial and you do your best and you give it to God, and these Oxford graduates who were looked to with such respect by the Anglican Church, they learned faith from these Moravian missionaries, and anyway, it's a great story, and there's people who we all wrestle. We wrestle with faith. We wrestle with fear, and sometimes we wrestle with habits. The story of the Wesleys before this, when they first went to Oxford, they weren't model Christians. There was no method among the Methodists in those days, but they grew in grace. They got saved. They committed. They consecrated their lives to God, and what rich rewards. They never did get straight on baptism. They always kept that Anglican baby sprinkling craziness. It has nothing to do with the Bible. But some of the greatest Christians in history had a doctrine off here, a doctrine off there. And God doesn't have perfect people to work with. All he's got is you and me. And that's why there ought to be just a boatload of mercy on one another. And you look at a church like ours, we're just a common group of people. But how merciful God is to give us these great workers. One of our finest couples, I asked them, or when they first started coming, just been a few times, and now they're very, very intimate, very in the middle of everything, and teaching and serving and all this stuff. But decades ago, I asked them, I said, "Where do we meet you?" And they said, "Oh, just somebody invited us," and I pushed a little bit. And, well, no, really, when, who, and what? And one of them said, "You met us in the jail." And I was so embarrassed. But just because I don't know what it was, a drug charge or car theft, murder, bank robbery. I don't know what it was, but they all have to pass background checks before they can do anything in the ministry, and they all have to have a clean record and all. But what a blessing that God picks up the pieces and makes our life something. Lord, take up the tangled strands which we have wrought in vain, that by the skill of thy dear hand some beauty may remain. The song transformed. Psalm 53 or 52. Last night, I am middle of the night, I don't know, 2:30 or something. I just lay wide awake, and I don't know why. Wasn't fretting over anything, didn't have anything special on my mind. I just was laying there wide awake, and I didn't want to bother my wife. And I'm laying there thinking, this isn't good because I've got a lot to do, and I can't get up at 2 or 3:30 in the morning, not and expect to run the rest of the day and work. But so I keep my phone by my bed, and so if someone has an emergency and they call, usually I turn the ringer off, but it'll vibrate, and there's a little wooden shelf and it'll make noise. And normally, if someone calls in the middle of the night, I hear it and it'll wake me up. Not always, but so I pick my phone up, and I have little earbud that I could listen to it without it making any noise. And so I just flipped over. I have a Bible is, Bibleis. I don't know where that name comes from, but it's dramatized Bible. And so in the Psalms, it's just one voice, obviously, but there's music behind it. In the other Gospels, every voice will be a different person, and so you'll hear a dozen different voices maybe in a story. Revelation's interesting. You hear the demons screaming as they leave the bottomless pit, and the lightning, thunder, the star falling. It's very dramatized. They did a great job. I don't pay for many apps, but I paid for that, and they deserve every dime they got from it. But so I lay there last night, and I just flipped over and just flipped it on. And this is where it was. And I thought, what a great chapter. And so I'm laying there in bed thinking about it. Well, I ended up, before I got tired enough to go back to sleep, I'm in Psalm 78. So I got through 26 chapters of the book of Psalms, lying there quietly, listening and thinking. But I wanted to just go through Psalm 52. And this is a lot about the tongue, and a lot about people who are critical, and people who, somebody at work or somebody in your neighborhood or some relative, I love our family. My parents always loved our family. My in-laws loved our family, and we never had any tension in our home. My parents lived right next door for a while, and we got along great. It's nice. The kids could go see Grandpa and Grandma whenever they wanted, and we didn't have a TV at the time, and so if there was a good ball game on, the kids could go over. Me and my son could go over and watch a ball game at Grandpa and Grandma's because they had sports on, and but anyway, a lot of families have tension and difficulty, and I grieve for that. That's not how a Christian home should be. But you know what? We're not all that good at Christians. Just because you're saved doesn't mean you're living the Christian life. But let me just run through a couple verses here. Psalm 52, why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? So already we've got a guy who's a mighty man. This person's got some power. They've got some influence, either political or legal or financial or military, whatever. But they're boasting of their mischief. They're boasting of what they can get away with. And he says, why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of God endureth continually. You better remember that God is good. You better keep in mind. He says, you may be mighty in the eyes of men. And it goes on. Look at verse 2. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor, working deceitfully. And there again, man, I could think of story after story of people who with their tongues, they said things and accused things and hurt people with unkind words. And I remember, our word, the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity, James says. There with blessed we God, and there with cursed we men, which are made after the image of God. And the tongue it's set on fire of hell, the book of James says. And we ought to guard our tongue. And one of our men told me when he said his daughter, a younger teenager, I don't know how old, I'm going to say 13, 14, she came walking into the room, or came down the stairs. He said, I look up these stairs, my daughter's walking down, her skirt is too short, her makeup is too heavy, and I said, no daughter of mine's going to walk out of this house looking like a whore. Get up there and change. I thought, well, that probably won your daughter's affection. What are you thinking? You can't talk like that to a human being. And I gave him he said, well, what should I have said? We talked through a whole lot of other things he could have said. You're a cute girl. You're too much of a lady to look like that. A little girl might get away with some of that, but he could have complimented her while assuring her that this is inappropriate. She may not know. I don't know. I have no idea what was in her heart, but I know after he said that didn't bring any father-daughter bonding. That I love the family and kids and adults alike, but sometimes our tongues get running ahead of our brain, and sometimes in frustration we say things that we wish we didn't. And I've heard people just flat out lie, and I think, I can't believe you said that. That's not true. I know it's not true, and you just bold-faced lied over this thing. And yes, it's wrong, and I'm not making any excuse, but I'll say this: good people get in a pinch, and they get in a spot where they shouldn't do what they're doing, or they get under stress or they're threatened. I think of these people, we send conservatives to Washington, and all of a sudden they're a liberal, and you wonder what happened. You know what I think? So, well, they never really were conservative. No, I think you go through decades of conservatism, and then you start to buckle. I think they're threatening the guy's kid or his wife, or maybe they've got something on him, or maybe they've created some blackmail on him that they're going to say, and even though it's not true, and it may come out as being not true, but it's still going to destroy your career or whatever. I don't know. I just know there's some really good people who evil attacks them. That's why you need to be very careful. I don't, just because, this Mike Johnson who took his position, and I don't know, I don't follow politics enough to know, but I know when he came in, people acted like he was the Messiah. Well, I was very guarded about that. I did not think he was the Messiah. But that he has turned on whatever some people said he turned on some things, and I don't know. But I'm not going to look too hopeful toward him, and I'm not going to look too critically toward him. I have no idea what he's been through or where he's been or what he's been threatened with, or the people. I've got something. I'll destroy your child, or I'll destroy your son's career in the military, and I think it's an evil. We need to understand that's an evil world out there, and so. This tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Verse 3, I'm in Psalm 52. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. There are people who love to be evil. Now, some of us as Christians, we're pretty naive, and I got to admit, I probably was one of them. But I think I've gotten over it. I think I understand there's bad people out there. And he's defining these people. Verse 4, thou lovest all devouring words, that, oh, thou deceitful tongue. And people who use their words to devour and to hurt. And what a shameful way. And I think sometimes Christians can do this, or people who claim to be Christians. I can't tell you who's saved and who's not. It'll be interesting when we get to the great, not to the great white throne, to the judgment seat of Christ. There may be some people not show. They may not show up till to the great white throne where the lost appeared. At the end of the millennium, when the lost stand before Christ and are judged, and they're not judged whether they go to heaven or hell. They're judged according to how bad their hell is. But he talks. Let me read those again to put it in context. Verse 2, Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor. Verse 3, thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. Look at verse 5. God shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root thee out of the land of the living. God is going to judge, and his judgment is forever. You may get hurt by somebody's words for a few minutes or for a few days. You may even lose a job because of some whatever trumped up story or whatever it might be. But you know what? When God judges the wicked, it's forever. Forever. And then he says, verse 6, the righteous also shall see and fear, and I love this, and shall laugh at him. Oh, that's so good. The righteous shall see, and then we'll fear God because we see the judgment God put on these people, and we're going to be fearful, and then it says we're going to laugh. Now, you may not think that's very Christian, but that's what it says. You read it, Psalm 52, verse 6, the righteous shall see and fear and shall laugh at him. And it goes on, lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches and strengthened himself in his wickedness. And the person who's trusting money, the person who's greedy for money, that person who doesn't trust their righteousness, but rather their ability to get gain, these big, whether it be the big business people or whether it be whoever, it doesn't matter. Money is a very temporary tool, and it's a evil and vile master. And it's a dangerous thing. I want to encourage you, you've got a great God. Let's do right. Let's do right, do right, do right. When you fall on your face, say, I messed up, I'm sorry, and then do right again. And let's labor to honor God, and God will take care. I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago or longer, I mentioned about avenging yourselves. And a church service, I talked about it some as well. Why don't we avenge ourselves? Because God will take care of people. And I was in the hospital with somebody recently. Some things had gone wrong, and I said, "Oh, you just wait on God. God will right the wrongs. God will take care of this, and He will bless in a rich way." And I just want to encourage as we go into Memorial Day weekend, there's a great God. That's who we're here to serve. Like these glasses, or over here, these glasses. The glasses are just mine to use for whatever I need them. These are supposed to be to help take the glare off of computer screens. I don't know if they do any good or not, but I got them. They're cheap, so I got them. And these are normal glasses. They have a little tint to them, but not much. But I spend quite a bit of time reading or on a screen. But they're just, and you know what I am and what you are if you're saved? We're a tool in the hands of God. Yes, He loves us, and we belong to Him. But we're here like our military with this Memorial Day weekend. The military sends someone here, sends someone there, deploys this person, keeps this person here. They are servants of their country, and not nearly as much a blessing as to be able to serve our God. And let's just serve Him, trust Him. He'll take care of us. And our military honors their leaders, and their leaders are wrong often. Our leader is never wrong. And the great God that gave us His book and that gave us His Son, He's never wrong. He's always right, and you can trust Him. Hey, I hope you have a great day, great weekend. Let's thank God for His mercy and His faithfulness. And like with the Wesleys, I mentioned the other day about the value of hymns and good music. Music will strengthen and comfort and encourage the soul. Pray, if you would, for soul winning tomorrow morning. So many people coming into our valley. Pray that God would draw them to us, that God would take away the distractions and fill. The building's pretty full, but overfill it. And then I don't know what we'll do. Our staff doesn't think we should do double services, but whether we do double service, we need a new building. We need to start praying for $2 million. I mentioned this, I don't know, a while back. Start praying. We need $2 million. I'll just tell you that. And that should get another building up and take care of the needs that we have. We have a very rich Father, and we need Him. Pray that God would help us and provide for us, and just keep trusting in the Lord. He's going to walk by you, and if you've been beat up by life, He's never going to leave you or forsake you. He's by your side.